welcome back, everybody. I am Ryan Bandever, and welcome in to The Burn. We are presented to you by Hot Zone Sports, the information that you need to know, built with you in mind. For the people, by the people, and with the people. Join the Hot Zone Sports community today. Remember, our show is wherever you get your podcast. Apple, Spotify, we are there. So if you could rate and review us, we would really appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, first off, congratulations, you found us. Secondly, welcome to the show. Hit that notification button so you always know when our content drops. Make sure you like the videos, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And wherever you social media, we are there. That's right. You can find us at Hot Zone Sports on all social media platforms. In this episode, we are going to be jumping right into it. We have a lot to cover, so let's just go ahead and do it. The NFL Combine, it happened last weekend. Yes, it took us a while to get to it because we got jobs, folks. Well, he doesn't. Whatever. He doesn't have a job. He has school, whatever. But the NFL Combine was last weekend. And, not a lot of people watched it. But there was a couple of highlights. Matthew Golden, he just, well, there's only one way to say it. He completely blew away his draft stock in the process of him running that 4.3. Plus, you could see the separation and whatnot. But you have plenty of other players like Jaxson Dart. He blew lots of people away with his throwing. And then probably the biggest spectacle of the weekend was Mr. Will Howard. But let's not talk about that. We will talk about that here in a little bit. We're going to jump into the Lakers Knicks. We're going to do a recap on that. And are the Lakers actually title contenders? I have different tiers on the different teams that could be considered title contenders, so we will jump into that later as well. Also, we're going to do the quarterback carousel. We had a little bit of movement today with Geno Smith, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to jump right into it. So, let's just go ahead and talk about Matthew Golden. Okay. Wide receivers are coming more and more into the NFL. Teams are more and more looking for speed, and he ran a 4.30 on his first attempt. And, it really doesn't get much better than that. I mean, this year's wide receiver class, it lacks the talent we've seen last year with the likes of Marvis Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze. The best players in this year's class are more really just high-end number 2 options in the passing game, not the top player to build an offense around. There are plenty of talented receivers still to upgrade offenses around the league, despite the lack of blue-chip talent. Many of them had a great showing at the NFL Combine, improved their draft stock heading into these pro days and the draft. And the pro days, these are when all the scouts are going to come out. This is where the players are going to feel the most comfortable, because don't get it twisted. When you go to these draft combines in Indianapolis, there's nothing comfortable about it. But Golden had a fantastic showing at the NFL Combine and worked his way up many draft boards thanks to that better than expected speed. But his 2024 stats, they're not going to blow you away. He had 58 catches, 987 yards, 9 touchdowns. He had a 17-yard per catch average. But let's just go ahead and get into his 40. So that was his 40, and as you can tell, he was absolutely moving. But if your team does need a wide receiver that creates separation in all areas of the field, a dynamic threat after the catch, a wide receiver that can line up at any position, a high-level kick returner, even though I do not think he's going to be returning kicks. I think that's, I won't say it's beneath him. I just think he's far too talented to be returning kicks. But if you said yes to any of these, then you're going to want to draft Matthew Golden. He does them all. Matthew Golden is a highlight machine. His draft stock has exploded, and averaging 95 yards per game in his final 6 games at Texas. He displays awesome burst, speed, and body control as a route runner and pass catcher, and he creates easy separation. I could show you video after video after video of him creating separation, just getting off the blocks. He is going to likely be a day 1 pickup, a top 20 pick in April. But the Texas wide receivers, don't get it twisted, guys. It's a group, okay? Over the past 2 years, Xavier Worthy ran a 4.21, Matthew Golden 4.3, Adonai Mitchell 4.34, and Mr. Isaiah Bond, who said he was going to break the record, ran a 4.40. It was the oh, man, what did I have here? It's the 16th fastest overall 40-yard dash time ever, the 8th fastest overall 40-yard dash time ever for a wide receiver. And it's just, he has a potential to be a wide receiver 1 in his NFL future. I mean, another player I want to move on to is Jaxson Dart. He was the best quarterback at this combine. It was obvious. With Shedeur Sanders not throwing, Cam Ward not throwing, and Dart has been viewed really since January as the quarterback 3 in this class by most analysts. But his performance at the Senior Bowl and at the Combine apparently have a lot of teams talking. The Ole Miss quarterback threw at the Combine in Indianapolis on Saturday in an effort to put himself in that first-round conversation. He has to do everything he can do in order to show the scouts that, he has that first-round talent. Obviously, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are widely viewed as the top 2 quarterbacks in the class. So it came as a little surprise that they decided against throwing. They decided just to go ahead and do the interviews and go ahead and do these little press conferences. But I will do a side topic about these press conferences. It came out, and it's hard to tell with the media what they actually think, because they're always trying to drive this narrative, so you never know. But it came out that some teams do not like the fact that Shedeur Sanders is not very humble, as they said. He's got a massive chip on his shoulder, and it's one of those things that you've heard for decades. It's a character flaw, okay? But I don't see it like that. I see it as Shedeur Sanders is a very confident young man. His dad is Deion Sanders. I mean, just look at what he did. When he got drafted, he came out with rap videos. like he was the epitome of confidence. It wasn't cockiness. He knew who he was. He knew how good he was. And to be able to be judging Shedeur Sanders on these press conferences when you weren't in any of these locker rooms. Excuse me. You weren't in any of these locker rooms with him. You don't know how he leads his teammates or how he treats his teammates. We all know how he treats his prior teammates. We saw that on X last offseason. But, it's unfair to treat a kid like this. Yeah, it's just it goes back for a while, it's just not the greatest conditions. It's not the greatest field. You're basically throwing balls to guys you've never thrown it to, and so the timing is going to be off. You're not going to have any type of chemistry with those guys. You're not going to know when they're going to break. When they run slants, ins, outs, you're not going to know that. So it's not exactly the greatest environment to prove to the scouts, what caliber of an athlete you are. So I don't think it's a big deal. What Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams last year, they didn't throw at the combine either. So it's going to happen more and more. It's just it is what it is. I mean, until they can bring a type of comfort of a Caleb Williams throwing at USC to his guys at the combine, this is the way the combine is going to continue to trend. But let's go ahead and jump back on to Jaxson Dart. It came as a little surprise how well Jaxson Dart threw, but he tried to impress these NFL talent evaluators. He showed off impressive arm strength and accuracy on intermediate passes such as slants and outs. Obviously, he missed some throws, but it's just going to show you all another video here of some reps that Jaxson Dart had. So as you could see, there was a considerable amount of throws that were on target. Even some skinnies right on the sideline. So overall, he actually did pretty good. He actually threw some beautiful deep balls on vertical routes, showing ideal touch that teams are going to want. He also performed well in throwing velocity with a speed of 58 miles per hour. Now, side topic again, that was the same velocity excuse me, achieved at last year's combine by Bo Nix, who went on to be pretty successful as one of the top rookie performers in the NFL last season with the Broncos. While not enormous for his size, when it comes to NFL quarterback standards, Dart measured in at 6'2", 223, with a prototypical hand size of 9.5 inches. Luckily, his hand wasn't small, guys. That's good. But in addition to his strong throwing performance and solid measurables, Dart has experience on his side entering the draft. Over his one season at USC and 3 with Ole Miss, Dart appeared in 45 games and started 41 of them, going 28-13. Dart had his best season to date this past season when he completed 69.3% of his passes for 4,279 yards, 29 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, while also rushing for 495 yards and 3 scores. Now, if there is one thing I will say about him is, All right. I got to go on the negative side of things, because I've been told I play devil's advocate here, but I'm just going to give you all the information. He has some weaknesses. He struggles after his first look. Dart is good at distributing the ball when he can quickly identify the coverage. That changes when the defense presents something unique or his first look isn't open. When Dart threw to his initial read, his 92.9 PFF passing grade was the second highest in the FBS. When he was forced to get off that initial read and flip to the other side of the field, though, his PFF passing grade dropped to 60.3, ranking 63rd in the FBS. Some of that has to do with the Ole Miss offense, of course. The Rebels don't typically run passing concepts that ask quarterbacks to read through the whole field, instead focusing on one side of the field. That showed when Jaxson Dart was forced off his initial read, and it's something he'll have to prove on drastically in the NFL. But another big issue is he doesn't have any elite traits. When looking at quarterback prospects, scouts try to find elite traits. Does a quarterback have elite arm talent, playmaking ability, or is he an elite processor of the game who is constantly one step ahead of the defense? Think Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, the elite quarterbacks in today's NFL, like Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. They all have at least one trait that they can bank on. While Dart brings good qualities and shows flashes in certain areas, he doesn't really have that elite trait. His arm talent is good, but he lacks high-end velocity. He can make some plays as a scrambler, but he's not an elite athlete who can live outside the pocket making plays. He's shown flashes with processing and speed, but due to Ole Miss's offense, there's an unknown with how quickly he can process, and then the NFL offense that will require him to work through the full field. Some quarterbacks can succeed in the NFL as a competent starters without an elite trait, but to be among the best, you have to have one reliable aspect. Why don't you take this question, Jordan, and then I'll do a rebuttal. Well, the way I see it is that this is all going to depend on what the Titans do at number one. There have been plenty of rumors of them trading out the Jets as being one of those suitors. But probably, you're just going to have to wait to see how free agency unfolds. Because as we saw today, Geno Smith heading to the Raiders. You thought the Raiders were going to select a quarterback in the NFL draft, so there goes that. And they still might draft a quarterback, but I don't think it's going to be as necessary as it was before today. You got the Cleveland Browns. They are more than likely going to draft a quarterback. I mean, their top need is quarterback. I mean, yeah, you have Deshaun Watson, but we know what he is. You're obviously going to need an edge rusher and offensive tackle, wide receiver, running back. But the Giants, your top need is quarterback. But there's also the chance that they bring Daniel Jones back in. It's a crazy thought, but the NFL does crazy things sometimes. And they were paying him what, $40 million per year. They're obviously not going to pay him that. But also Daniel Jones, he could, from what I've heard from Ian Rappaport, he could end up going to the Colts. So, yeah, we're just gonna have to hold on that one, big dog. The next guy that I want to talk about is Will Howard. Now, everybody knows, if you watch the podcast, if you watch the Colts Mob podcast, then you know, or the Horseshoe Mob. Sorry, guys. You know that I am probably Will Howard's biggest critic. But he was turning heads at the combine this last weekend, but not for the right reasons. Just coming off a championship run with Ohio State, 4 seasons with Kansas State, he is being criticized in his first step towards the NFL. And the NFL Combine, it's just one of the best chances that college football has to showcase their skills for the league's recruiters and people that are going to be making this decision of picking them for the draft. So let's just go ahead and get right into this, and let's play you the video.
And transfer portal and how that's impacted college football. For me, on the scouting side of things, the realignment with the Big Ten and the SEC, I've never seen more good on good with these players as you're studying them, get ready for the season. Did you notice that? I mean, let's appreciate a nice outcut.
Is that what it is? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Here's another one.
A couple times, got to see him in person a couple times, and does a lot of things well. Asked him to throw the ball around.
I was on the coaching staff for his father.
Okay, all
His
right.
father played. There we go.
Aging yourself a little bit.
Age reveal.
Let's put a little more air under this. The first one was a little flat.
There you go.
Yeah. That was better.
I'm trying to figure out this angle.
All right, so as you saw there, he had some good passes, but these were his misses. And this is the reason why people are saying it was the worst draft combine performance in the history of the NFL. Okay. But it's fair to say that this was obviously not a good day for Howard. He was late on his throws. He was sometimes overthrowing his receivers and displaying a lack of coordination with these wideouts. And it's kind of surprising because, on the Pat McAfee show the day before the draft combine, there was a report out that he was out in the parking lot. He, as in Will Howard, was out in the parking lot of the hotel just throwing bombs. So, I mean, maybe he was just trying to figure things out. I don't know. But, many fans called on social media as one of the worst performances ever by a quarterback. And here's one quote. Some of those were on the wide receivers, but damn, does he have an arm without accuracy? A couple in routes where the receiver was bad at the route, but most of those were just overthrows and ex-user posted. When you're throwing to guys you've literally never thrown to before, it might not look great, another one commented. Some guys do better when the game is on the line. Maybe Howard is one of them, added a user. Howard is big, tough, and accurate, but benefited from that superior talent at the skill positions at Ohio State. unless he proves he can play chess against NFL defenses, he might not have enough in the toolbox to become more than just an average backup. Will Howard is physically talented quarterback with dual threat playmaking abilities. We saw at Ohio State and Kansas State before that. He is a good athlete for his size and stature. He has the athleticism for designed quarterback runs in the low red zone. Howard's rushing ability forces defenses to play them honestly and factor them into their run defense. He can navigate the pocket fairly well, sliding for pressure, and will break the pocket if defensive pressure flushes him out. Howard's big frame increases effectiveness near that goal line. He will lower his shoulder to force his way into the end zone. Now, regarding the passing game, Howard operates well within the short and intermediate parts of the field. He flashes good velocity from 0 to 15 yards down the field. Designed and isolated quick passing concepts work well for Howard as they provide easy ways to attack the defense and get into rhythm. He attacks the seam routes well, throwing with the right amount of velocity and touch based on defensive coverage. Howard throws down the field with good touch. Obviously, didn't say it on that video, and has good ball placement, landing over the receiver's shoulders. But the biggest issues with him is his lower body mechanics in the pocket are inconsistent, resulting in off-target passes. His footwork gets off schedule, and he is skittish in the pocket. After hitting the top of the drop, when he attempts to climb or hitch forward in the pocket, Howard can be heel clicking. This results in a decrease in accuracy. Howard must find stability and consistency with his base inside the pocket to enhance his accuracy and ball placement. Yeah, I mean, to put it nicely, he has the tools and abilities to be a developmental prospect. He offers an NFL skill set, but he's going to project as a backup. He's just too inconsistent. And unless you have players like Buka and all of these five-star blue chippers and have athletes everywhere, and unless you have something like that, it's going to be very difficult for him. Okay. ICT Sports. All right, man. You want me to tell you how I really feel about Howard? I don't like him. I really don't. He was a 3-star quarterback coming out of Pennsylvania. Penn State didn't want him. And so he ends up coming to Kansas State. The only good year that he had was his final season. And all of these reports coming out saying he left Kansas State because he wanted to win a championship. You're full of crap. He left Kansas State because their freshman quarterback that came in had better talent than him in his pinky. That's why. That's why he left. It wasn't to win a championship. It was to improve his draft stock and to ultimately win a championship because he knew if he went into the draft last season, he was going to be a 7th-round pick. So, there you have it, ICT Sports. Do you like it? That's how I feel. Anything you would like to add, Jordan?
To your
All right, ICT Sports. It's just, I don't know, man. It's crazy. But let's go ahead and move on to this NFL quarterback carousel because it is absolutely, it's going to start getting out of hand real fast. Let's go ahead and start with Sam Darnold. Where do you see him landing? Obviously, it feels like half the league is going to be going after him. I see him getting anywhere from $30 to $40 million. It really reminds me of Baker Mayfield. He had that one good season, where he struggled with the Browns and he struggled with the Panthers, and then he goes to the Rams and he has a pretty good season. Well, not a full season, but he has a pretty good season, and that's when he gets his payday.
I mean, the NFL is pretty unpredictable when it comes to free agency and trades. But realistically, he could go to a lot of teams. Because this year, he gave the Vikings a winning record, which I don't even think Vikings fans thought that was possible. But there is a lot of teams that he could go to. We don't know what's going to happen in Pittsburgh. I mean, Justin Fields might go into free agency. Really don't know. Could go to Cleveland. I don't know what Cleveland would do. I mean, they're projected in the mock drafts to draft a quarterback in the first round, but they think they have something with Deshaun Watson. I mean, if they do, they're crazy because he hasn't been good since Houston.
The Browns are just waiting for that contract to end. They are in quarterback purgatory, cap space purgatory. They can do nothing. Like, the only thing that they should do right now is just trade Myles Garrett. Get what you can. Bust everything wide open and just start over. Draft a quarterback. Draft Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, whatever you want. Start fresh. Build around your quarterback. That's what winning franchises do, is they draft a quarterback and you build around him. Obviously, there's issues sometimes when the quarterback doesn't develop like you think he's going to. But Sam Darnold, the Browns cannot afford him. They have way too much tied up in Myles Garrett, Deshaun Watson. That's probably going to go down as the dumbest contract in NFL history, at least up to this point. I'm sure there's going to be dumber ones. But Sam Darnold, he was probably one of the biggest surprises this season. It was a team of the Vikings where they were projected to win 6 games. Okay. He led the team to the 14 wins, their most since 1998. They had a real shot at winning Comeback Player of the Year at the NFL Honors, and promptly an ungodly amount of trash talk from plenty of Green Bay fans. But Minnesota is going to have to sign him. Because if I've said it 10 times, I've said it 1,000 times. What do you have at quarterback? Okay. You have J.J. McCarthy. Now, let's just think about that for a minute. What did you see out of J.J. McCarthy at Michigan? You saw a power run heavy offense. he maybe had to throw 15 to 20 times a game, 20 being the max, being the cap. Okay? Now you have a head coach who is a pass-heavy head coach. That's all he wants to do, which is why Darnold was so successful. Not to mention he had great weapons on that team. But coming back to earth, what is J.J. McCarthy going to do? He was never put in the position to where he had to pass heavily game in and game out. That is why it is very important that the Vikings just re-sign Darnold, because you're not going to have many other options out there. What are you going to do? Bring in Minshew? Or are you going to bring in Daniel Jones? It's just not. It's not going to work out very well. But Darnold, you do you. It's going to be expensive to keep him back with the Vikings because he is going to be looking for a long-term contract. So where does he go? Now, before today, I would have said the Raiders and the Titans. These are two very similar teams. Both are severely lacking at multiple positions and are desperately in need of answers at the quarterback position. But barring a trade up from, the Jets or whatever, I think the Titans are going to end up drafting Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. And I know there's been reports out about, Travis Hunter. You need a quarterback. Mr. Mayonnaise Man ain't it. Okay? I don't think they're going to bring in a generational talent like many people call it, like Travis Hunter. I don't think they're going to go that route, but they're going to select a top quarterback here. That's just how it's going to work. I don't see many other teams. I know there's been reports out there that the Colts are going to go after him. The Colts are trying to bring in competition for Anthony Richardson. They're not trying to hand the job to somebody else. And if you bring in Darnold, that's basically what you're doing, because Darnold at this point is better than Richardson.
Yeah, there's a lot of quarterbacks going into free agency, which frees up options for Sam Darnold. But it's a lot of teams that are letting go of quarterbacks that don't have the money to sign him. A lot of teams could grab a quarterback out of free agency so they could spend their picks on other positions they need, like the Titans, because they need so many positions, offensively and defensively. But I do think something's going to happen in free agency.
It's just, today, Geno Smith, like I said earlier, he was traded to the Raiders, 2025, third-round pick. He is the biggest domino to fall so far. So Sam Darnold, he could possibly go to the Seahawks as well. But are you going to pay him, $30 to $40 million per year on a long contract? I don't know. That's kind of a sticky situation as well. But one thing is for sure, and we'll hit a couple of other quarterbacks as well. But one thing is for sure, once Darnold falls, that's when the entire waterfall is going to come loose. Because you're going to have Justin Fields out there or Russell Wilson, depending on if the Steelers want to bring one of these guys back. There's been rumors that the Steelers are very interested in Jaxson Dart, and it's kind of like I compare the Steelers to the Colts when it comes to the quarterback position, because the Colts had so many quarterbacks run through that door. It was a revolving door. It was like a different quarterback every single year, except Phillip Rivers. I think we had it for like 2 years. But it's just, are you going to sign Russell Wilson? Let's say hypothetically they sign Russell Wilson. At the end of the year, you knew what he was. He was average. He was not going to win you any games. He was just going to stand in that pocket and dink and dunk you all over the field. Okay? Next is Justin Fields. He's still a work in progress, but the Steelers know that, which is why they moved off of him in the middle of the season. But do they do the same here? But the one thing that I will say is the Colts are a prime destination for him where he would have to compete for the position, which would be good and could humble Anthony Richardson, who's had that position since day one. And they have similar skill sets. They both can run. I'm not going to say they both can pass because Anthony Richardson, he's so hot and cold when it comes to the pass game. You don't even know what is up when you're watching him play. But another one, Aaron Rodgers. Once again, you're going to be going to a quarterback needy team. He obviously does not want to have his career end the way it did with the Jets. But if you look at his last 10 games, Aaron Rodgers had, I think it was over 98 QBR on the Jets, who were horrid all year long. Didn't even have a head coach. I mean, they had a head coach. It was interim. Leave me alone. But where are the best fits? Do you really think he's going to go to the Titans or the Giants? I mean, at his age, he's going to win another championship, but I don't think it's feasible for him.
I think he's going to want to go to a team that is going to get him to the playoffs. But I think what's going to happen is he's going to sign with a team that knows they're going to drop the quarterback. Because he has that. He's a veteran. He's been in the league for years. So I think if, let's say, the Titans, not likely, but the Titans grab him, and they'll be drafting a quarterback. I mean, I think they would be. Say they draft a quarterback, they're going to want a veteran to teach him the game. Because Rodgers has playoff experience. He has postseason experience. He just has experience.
Yeah.
And I think he's just going to go to a team to teach the rookie.
Oh, Braves lifer, you're on something here. Oh, man. Okay. Rodgers, Jefferson. Yeah, I can see that. That would actually be a really good fit. But one thing is Darnold would have to walk. And that is the wild card here. He's going to want to go to a contender. As crazy as it is, I know Max Crosby, he wanted Aaron Rodgers to go there. But one thing that you can say about quarterbacks coming off an ACL injury, which is what Aaron Rodgers is coming off of, they always struggle in their first season back, and he did for a little bit until he started finding his feet the second half of the season. But yeah, Geno Smith, he was traded to the Raiders. I think it's going to be a pretty good fit. Obviously you got a new coaching staff. You still got Brock Bowers. You still got Jacoby Myers. You still got some weapons, but they're going to have to add to it because the Raiders, yes, they have a quarterback now, but no, they are not a playoff team at this point. You're going to have to add more depth into that offense. You're gonna have to add more depth to that defense. They are just so thin in so many areas. So that's what I have to say about that. You got anything else to add, Jordan?
Yeah, a lot of teams with depth in their team, sometimes they don't make it to the playoffs. I mean, we saw 49ers. They have some of the best players at their positions on the 49ers, and they didn't make the playoffs. I could blame it on Brock Purdy. I don't like Brock Purdy as much as you don't like Will Howard. But the Raiders do need depth to their team. And I think it will take 2 or 3 years to be considered as a playoff contender. Maybe more years. But if they don't make it to the playoffs in 2 or 3 years, Max Crosby is going to run. He's going to run away from that franchise. Because Max Crosby has that winner's personality. I mean, he's one of the best at his position. He's going to want to launch.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to pass it off to you for a minute because this next topic touches a little bit close to home, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit close.
So our next topic is going to be Jerry Jones. He commented in free agency. Now, Jerry Jones, everybody knows he's the owner and the general manager. I'll never understand. But he backed off his comments made by the CEO, his son, Stephen Jones, about the club's selectively aggressive approach to free agency. Now, I have a nice little picture for everybody. Okay. So this right here, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones expects the team to prioritize the draft over acquiring players early in free agency. Asked about the team being more aggressive in free agency, I don't think aggressive is the right word. I'm not looking at free agency as a place to fill voids. How does that make you feel, Jordan?
I don't like it at all because these past 2-3 years, we've lost more in free agency than we've gained. I mean, we lost Tyron Smith, we lost Tony Pollard, DeMarcus Lawrence. I mean, he is trusting the draft more than he is trusting free agency. And in the draft, you're going to get players that could develop into great players, but you just never know what you can get in the draft. We need so many things, and a lot of other fans don't understand that. But we have $50 million to spend because we reconstructed contracts.
Yeah, speaking of which, let's go ahead and get right into that. So the Cowboys restructured Dak's contract, opening up $36.6 million in cap space. That's $56.6 million created in the last 2 days with the restructuring of the CD Lamb as well. So really, the Cowboys currently have $54.3 million in cap space, according to OverTheCap.com. The new league year begins on March 12th. The good news for Dallas fans is that the Jones family has already been more active prior to free agency than they were last year. They re-signed their defensive tackle to a 4-year, $80 million contract hours before the franchise tag window. But here's the thing. In the last 3 or 4 years, the Cowboys are ranked 26th or lower in free agent spending. So if you aren't going to spend money in free agency or you aren't going to build through the draft, where are you going to get these stars? One thing is for certain, that it is paramount that them boys add some playmakers opposite a CeeDee Lamb.
I mean, it's obvious that we need another receiver. I mean, it's either we have old guys that can't play no more, or it's wide receivers we haven't even played since they got drafted. I mean, we could put Jalen Tolbert over there, but we haven't played him that many times. I mean, we do need a duo with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's going to walk if he doesn't go to the playoffs. I mean, we've gone to the playoffs in the past few years, but we can't say anything about a Super Bowl. And that makes me mad as much as any Cowboys fan out there. I wasn't even alive when Cowboys won a Super Bowl.
I was 14. Let's jump into some passing numbers, okay? The Cowboys' passing numbers this past season was a bit slanted, obviously, due to Dak Prescott. But it's clear that they need a number 2, opposite of CD. CD had 152 targets, 101 receptions, 1,194 yards, 6 touchdowns. Dallas doesn't have anybody else scaring opposing defenses in the passing game outside of their 2-time All-Pro wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb. Their number 2 wide receiver, Brandon Cooks, he fought through a knee injury this season that caused him to miss 7 games. He's 31. Tight end Jake Ferguson, he battled through a knee injury and a concussion. And then Jalen Tolbert and Cavante Turpin, 2 guys who hadn't been relied on much in the passing game. Well, guess what? They were asked to step up. Ferguson was second on the team in catches with 59. Tolbert was second on the team in receiving yards with 610. That's not good enough if the goal is to give your quarterback multiple dependable options to throw to that will make opposing defenses think for a split second if they want to double team CD. This year's free agency wide receiver market isn't exactly brimming with surefire stars, but there are some nice complementary pieces available. Grabbing at least one of them in free agency, perhaps someone like, I don't know, a Stephon Diggs, an Amari Cooper, a Darius Slayton at a lower rate could be extremely helpful for Dallas. The Cowboys need to add to this group, whether via free agency or the draft, or maybe both, with Cook set to become a free agent.
Yeah, we don't know what teams are going to re-sign their wide receivers, but we also have Keenan Allen, Chris Godwin, Deontay Johnson. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, I don't know if the Chiefs are going to re-sign him because of age, but there's a lot of receivers going in. I mean, you got speedy wide receiver Marquise Brown. There's a lot of possibilities. Then you got Ashton Doolin, but we don't see much from him.
So you got Devontae Adams. He's probably going to get released from the Jets. DK Metcalf, he requested a trade. Tyler Lockett, Chris Godwin, Stephon Diggs, Amari Cooper, D-Hop, Keenan Allen, Hollywood Brown, Slayton, like I said, Mike Williams, Deontay Johnson. That's just to name a few. Obviously, wide receiver position is not the only position that the Cowboys need to upgrade or add to at this point. But, you're going to have to add somebody to complement CeeDee Lamb because at this point, no other weapon on the Cowboys offense is going to scare you or make you think, okay, maybe we shouldn't double CeeDee Lamb here.
Yeah, like you said, wide receiver isn't our only problem here. We also need running backs.
Well, he's gone anyway, so.
There's also Aaron Jones, Raheem Mostert, Jamal Williams. I mean, Raheem Mostert, he's 32.
I mean, I particularly think they should build through the draft when it comes to the running back position. Do not draft Ashton Jeanty at your current position because there are so many running backs out there in this draft, and a lot of them are really good. You could get a running back in the 4th round. I'm not saying the Cowboys should do that, but I'm just saying you need to draft the best available. If there is a good wide receiver sitting there at 10 that you absolutely love, draft him. And I understand you're going to have to replace Zach Martin as well. So the Cowboys, they have questions that they have to answer. But one thing is for certain, the Cowboys do need a running back. They do need a wide receiver. You're going to have to figure out if you can rely on Jake Ferguson to be that guy because they have been trying to find that guy since Jason Witten retired. And they had that guy, and then they let him walk. So, I don't know. It's just difficult.
Yeah, there's there's speedy running backs in this class. There's physical running backs. This is a good running back class. I wouldn't call it strong. But, I mean, if we look at the combine, there's a 5'9" running back, 200 pounds, Tuden. He ran a 4.32. That's not bad. It ties Devon A. Chains for his 40 time.
So, moving on, as you all saw, you probably saw the brand new, absolutely brand new intro. Had some NBA highlights on it. Yeah. So we are going to be talking more and more about the NBA. I know a lot of people hate the NBA, but man, there's just one team that has just completely made the NBA rise from the dead. You guessed it, the Los Angeles Lakers. Well, last night they rallied from a 13-point second-half deficit to beat the New York Knicks 113-109 in an absolute thriller. We stayed up, watched this game. Probably wasn't a healthy thing for me to do since I had work in the morning, but I don't make the greatest decisions sometimes. The Lakers are now winners of 8 straight and 20 of their last 24. The Lakers, since the trade, are 12-2 with Luka. They have improved to 40-21 and have maintained their number 2 spot in the Western Conference. The Knicks dropped to 40-22 and number 3 in the East. But one thing that people are not really talking about, and I understand Charles Barkley, but I'm not going to get into that madness. Charles Barkley can say whatever he wants because he makes millions of dollars in order to do so. But I will say everything that the Lakers have done, Charles Barkley has always had some negative connotation about it. Well, here's the problem, guys. Okay, since January, about mid-January, the Lakers have been playing great basketball. And that was before the trade, okay? But last night, you could obviously see the supporting cast struggled to make shots through 3 quarters. I mean, they were carried by Luka Doncic and LeBron James. Luka, he had 32, 7, 12 assists. And LeBron James, he had his normal. It's really crazy to say normal at 40 years old, but here we are. Normal 31 point, 12 rebounds, and 8 assists. Really, the sad point of that game was in overtime when Jalen Brunson went down. Your heart has to go out to him because, he had 39 points and 10 assists with a minute 24 left in overtime, who stayed on the court to make both free throws. So you have to wonder what would have actually happened if he would have stayed in that game, Jordan.
Yeah, the supporting cast of the Knicks, I mean, you can look at the stats of that game. You can clearly see what was wrong. But since the Luka trade, like you said, they've won 12 games. But every player's going to need some time to adjust to their new team. Every team's got a different play style. And you don't know how you're going to adjust to LeBron James being on your team. But you could say he's adjusted because these past few games he's dropped 30, he's dropped 20. I mean, and then you got Reeves. I mean, he wasn't great last night. I watched that whole game. It was pitiful.
But he just came back from injury, so that's going to happen. All right? So I particularly will give him a pass.
I don't know if I'll give him a pass for that because, I mean, after halftime, he was like 0 for 6, and his only points were off of free throws. He was contributing. He's a contributor for the Lakers, clearly, but I think the Lakers' main problem that might keep them from a finals appearance or even getting along in the playoffs is their center position. I mean, Jaxson Hayes, he had 5 rebounds last night. LeBron James had more rebounds than him.
Well, that's what happens when you go up against Cat.
I mean, even Cat struggled, but he was the only other player doing anything.
It's just, I know that people are going to talk crap on LeBron James. You know, it's the facts of life. But one thing that you have to say about LeBron James, whether you hate him, whether you love him, is the fact that he came out last night and told JJ Redick, "All right, what do you need me to do?" And he got on that floor, and JJ Redick said, "I need you to lock down Cat." And what happened? He locked down Cat. What was Cat 3 for 13 for the game? Like, he struggled throughout the entire game. And say what you want about LeBron, but he will do whatever it takes to win. He has that killer instinct. Say whatever you want. 0 for 3 on possessions where they could have won the game. Oh, whatever, man. It's just, he will do whatever it takes to win the game. Let's go ahead and take a break and show these comments. What in the... Okay, really? Braves lifer? No. I'm not responding to that. If Jordan of the younger generation wants to respond to that, go ahead and do that.
I might be the younger generation, but I don't even know what that means.
I don't even know what it means. Reeves missed 2 games. Yeah. That's the reason why I'm giving him a pass. He missed 2 games. Sometimes it's rust. You got to knock it off. So we are going to see how he plays against the Celtics this weekend, because the Celtics, I could easily see the Celtics going up against the Lakers at this point. But I'm going to I have the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference graded in like 2 tiers, right? So tier B, the lower tier, would be teams that have a good record, but you know who they are, right? That's going to be the Cavaliers. That's going to be the Denver Nuggets, OKC. We know who they are, right? And then you're gonna have the upper tier, tier A, and you can call me a homer all you want, but this is the fact: nobody wants to play the Lakers. Nobody wants to play the Celtics. Now, I understand that the Cavaliers are on a 12-game win streak. I get all that. But when it comes to teams being scared to play them, right now, that's the Lakers. The Lakers are playing like the best team in the NBA right now. Luka, for as dumb as that trade was for Nico Harrison to go through, not even getting like 4 first-round picks, that would have been more feasible, more understandable why he would trade Luka away. But look at, he's averaging 20 points per game. I think it's about 24 points per game up at this point. And he has become the facilitator for the Lakers. LeBron has taken a back seat because that was his main role. And so he took a step back in order to allow Luka to do that. And the offense is running on 4 cylinders here. Okay. And yeah, Jaxson Hayes, he came back to earth for a game, but that's understandable. He's an undersized center. And so that's going to happen when you are going up against a true center. And so I don't really see that's going to be too big of a deal. That's the main reason why the Lakers wanted to trade for a center. But they obviously couldn't get it done. Well, they had it done, but then trainer said no. But anyway, the game this weekend is going to be something amazing, something to behold. I, for one, am super excited for it because this game is going to give you a true metric of where both of these teams are at. Right. Reddick, he has obviously overtaken this defense. He has taken this defense. He is taking it with full arms. It is his baby, per se. And so we're going to see this weekend where the Lakers really at, because the Knicks were the best competition that they had faced. Because I mean, yeah, it's the NBA, and you only play the teams that are in front of you. But for, I don't know, a couple weeks there, ever since the Luka trade, they weren't playing very, very good teams. I'll keep it real with everybody. But the Knicks, they won that game, whether Jalen Brunson got injured or not. If Jalen Brunson would have stayed in the game, who knows if the Lakers would have won. But they won the game.
Yeah, we saw that game that Brunson was the main contributor. I mean, Brunson was the only reason they were even in a close game. I mean, he dropped 39 points, 10 assists. You don't see a lot of games like that. Almost dropping 40 points and still having those assists. But I think it could have gone to double overtime. I guess we won't know, but you never know what's going to happen.
Brunson doesn't go out. I don't know if the Lakers win. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you, man. I don't know. I do know that the Lakers held the Knicks to 15 fourth quarter points, and that was what put the Lakers in position to get it to overtime. So you have to give it to J.J. Redick, the defense. They came to play in that fourth quarter. Anything else you'd like to add, Jordan?
It was a good game. I can't lie about that. I mean, the Lakers did struggle in the first half, but a lot of great teams do struggle in the first half. They got to find their rhythm in the second. And I was just talking to myself during the game, asking them to find a rhythm in the second half, and I guess looking LeBron figured things out.
All right. Well, if you don't have anything else, we got one more. Say, all right. Well, we appreciate all the comments. Yeah, we got some big things planned. Here in probably a couple weeks, maybe the end of the month, we're probably going to start jumping into Major League Baseball. I know a lot of people find Major League Baseball boring, but you don't have to watch the games. We'll give you the recaps. One of the recaps that we will be doing is the Atlanta Braves. We will be doing the Kansas City Royals and the Dodgers. We won't be doing episodes every single day. It'll just be, one, maybe twice a week. I'm not completely sure, but we do have some pretty good interviews coming up. Going to have some live streams with some very prominent people. So stay tuned for that. But before you leave, give this video a thumbs up. Can you do that, YouTubers? It really helps us pop in a big way. Everything is free here. That's all we ask of you. Leave a comment below. And if you're on Apple or Spotify, give us that 5-star rating and review. It helps us out tremendously. So thank you for doing that. Also, follow us on all of our social media platforms at Hot Zone Sports. And join the sports pages that is meant for you. Because this is why we truly do this. For the people. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click that notification button. And everybody have a blessed week.